Most people live every day feeling separate, separate from their dreams, separate from their purpose, separate from others, and sometimes even separate from themselves. We have been taught to believe that you are here. Life is over there. It will take you time to get where you want to be. But what if time itself is part of the illusion? What if time plus space are the mechanisms that generate the feeling of separation? Quantum physics and spiritual traditions both suggest that separation is not fundamental, but rather it's perceptual, simply a lens, a way of experiencing reality in the third dimension. In this episode, we're going to talk about the illusion of separation, including how it connects with the illusion of time and how both shape your reality. A materialistic reality of limited emotions like stress, fear, and anxiety, as we struggle with what seems the never ending separation from our dreams, goals, and desires. So let's pull back the veil and start remembering who we truly are. So, what is the illusion of separation? At the simplest level, separation is the belief that we are individuals in isolated bodies. We are separate from our goals, dreams, and success. We are separate from source, creation, and the universe. In the 3D world, the material world, the world of physical objects in linear time, separation looks obvious and appears inescapable. This is the world of the five senses, right? In order for us to experience anything in the 3D world, we need our five senses. Otherwise, we would have no awareness. This is me, that is you, this is now, that is later. These are separate points of consciousness. But both space and time are part of this illusion. When there is a separation between 2 points of consciousness, as you move from one point of consciousness to another point of consciousness, you are literally collapsing space. As you collapse space, you experience time. That is space-time in the third dimension reality by old world Newtonian principles. In the reality of space-time, because our senses are required for an experience, we live in a material world where all objects are made of matter. So you could say that for the most part, human beings are materialists. We use our senses to navigate space, so we place most of our attention on physical things such as people, objects, and places, all made of matter, and they are localized, meaning that those objects occupy a position in space and time. This is where we step out of the universal reality of oneness, and separation occurs as we introduce more points of consciousness. For example, observe where you are presently in your life and where your dreams and goals exist as a reality in your future. There is separation in those 2 points, and because you are separate, you experience limited emotions such as stress, impatience, lack, or frustration as you become aware of the time and space that it will take to realize your dreams or goals. And it can get worse the longer it takes, obviously. So we can accurately say then that in the Newtonian reality of space-time, in order to navigate three-dimensional reality, we need our five senses. The more we use our senses to define reality, the more we experience separation. Because most of this three-dimensional reality is sensory-based, space and time create the experience of separation from everyone, everything, every place, and everybody in every time. And all things material occupy one position in space and time, that is locality. So not only have we become materialists living in this dimension, but we are also enslaved to and limited by it because we have defined ourselves as a body in this environment at specific times, and now our focus is more on matter and less on energy. This creates psychological distance, emotional distance, and eventually spiritual distance. The farther away something appears in time or space, the more anxiety we feel around it. Because distance equals uncertainty, right? And uncertainty equals fear. So now let's look at the biological effects of separation. As materialists living in this space time world of knowns, our daily experiences are dictated by separation we feel in our environment, which now leads to stress entering the equation. When stress occurs, our body begins to draw from the invisible electromagnetic field of energy that surrounds us to produce chemistry. The more stress, the more energy gets consumed and the more chemicals produced, causing us to pay more attention on matter and knowns and less on energy. The more this energy field shrinks, we feel more like matter and less like energy, which is unnatural. Now, our frequency slows down and our bodies become more dense. Over time, this conditions our body more into survival mode and out of creation. Our bodies are designed to live in survival mode, short term. But over time, all of our energy gets siphoned away from us, and this is where sickness and disease occurs. In survival, our focus narrows and converges on our body and whatever external threat there is in our environment, causing us to become preoccupied by the time between the moment of perceived danger and the moment we reach safety, both of which are points of consciousness. The more we experience stress, the more we feel separation. The more you are living in survival and using your senses to divine reality, the more you experience separation from a new future. So, how separation and time create a stressful reality? So, separation thrives on two illusions: time and space. I am here, my dream is there. I am now, my success will come later. This creates a linear, stressful model of reality. Once I get there, I'll be happy. Once enough time passes, I will be healed. And once I achieve that, I will feel worthy. But notice, worthiness, healing, purpose are always projected into the future. This keeps us out of the generous present moment, which is really the only moment we ever actually experience. When consciousness becomes trapped in the future, the nervous system shifts into fight or flight. This is where stress, fear, and anxiety are born. So we can say then that separation equals delay, time, right? Delay equals pressure, pressure equals fear. But here's the deeper truth, and this is very important. Time does not separate you from your goal. Your belief in time does. Think about that. So let's talk about quantum physics and the illusion of locality. So in classical physics, reality seems local. Things exist in one position at one time. But in quantum physics, locality breaks down. Here's an example. Quantum entanglement. Particles that interact become correlated, even across unlimited or vast distances. This has been proven. Space becomes less relevant than the relationship between those particles. This hints that reality may be a unified field rather than separate points. The field of consciousness. So from a conscious creator perspective, space-time is not the source of consciousness, but rather consciousness projects its experience into space-time. Hope you're getting that. We exist as points of awareness in this giant unified field. So think of a dream. So inside a dream, there are characters, right? Characters appear separate, but the dreamer contains all of them. In the same way, consciousness may be the dreamer and our individuality just characters within it. So from the quantum model, we can see that there is no separation, just unity and oneness. Because this is not the material world of five senses, and time is not linear, but rather it is infinite now. It is the world of energy, frequency, and vibration, a different state of consciousness. So 3D versus 5D, the dimensions of experience. Let's talk about 3D and 5D in the context of separation and spiritual awakening. So these dimensions aren't just places you go, they are states of consciousness, the 3D consciousness. So 3D is dense, physical, and linear. It's based on separation, survival, scarcity, and fear. I am my body, I am my role, I am what I have. Time feels strictly past into present into future, linear. So in 3D, life feels like a struggle. You feel cut off from source. You believe that you're alone in this giant hostile soup or universe. So the difference now, let's talk about 5D consciousness. So 5D is a state of unity, love, and interconnectedness. 5D is guided by intuition, presence, and higher awareness. I am a soul having a human experience. I am connected to all that is. So in 5D, you feel oneness with others and with your life. Your identity shifts from small self to presence. Time feels much more fluid. You sense possibilities and potentials, not just linear cause and effect experiences. There is no separation in 5D because you recognize that every person, everything is a mirror. You see that every interaction is an interaction with yourself. You feel directly connected to source, to the quantum field, to the fabric of reality. 3D isn't bad, and 5D isn't better in an ego sense. It's simply a shift from illusion to clarity, from fragmentation into wholeness. In 5D, separation collapses. You begin to experience your goals not as distant points, but as frequencies that you need to align with. Reality becomes less about traveling through time and more about tuning your consciousness. So let's talk about how the elite systems, the oligarchs, use separation as control. Important. Simple. Divide and conquer, right? If people feel separated from each other, from their own power, from their own inner guidance, they're much easier to control, right? So separation creates the big one here, fear of others, of difference, and of the unknown. It also creates distrust of your neighbors, your communities, and even families you can't trust. Now there's dependency on the powers, on external authorities to protect and to guide them, so to speak. So systems are built around a constant conflict, right? A left versus right, red versus blue, this group versus that group. Also manufactured scarcity. There's never enough, so we're always competing with each other. Distraction and division, keeping people mad at each other instead of seeing the bigger game. So when humans are divided against themselves and each other, they tend to forget their power and they stop questioning the system. They remain stuck in survival mode instead of awakening. So from a conscious creator perspective, this is not about hating the oligarchs or going to war with the shadowy enemy. That would be just another level or layer of separation. This is why protests, marches, and riots and other uprisings against corrupt systems will never work. It's continued separations within the same system. That's important to understand. The key to all this is awareness. Once you see that separation is being amplified on purpose for control, you can choose something different. You can stop feeding the illusion, first of all. You can reclaim your inner authority. To dissolve separation, we must reconnect with the only real moment, the now, the generous present moment. So let's pull back the veil and recognize this illusion of separation. So how do we actually begin to wake up from this illusion in a practical way? One, notice the me versus them mentality or story. Begin to catch yourself when your mind says, this is awareness, right? When your mind says those people are the problem, or I'm alone in this, or no one understands me. It's me against the world, for example. So instead of fighting the thought, just witness it. Recognize this. This is the voice of the separation program, not the voice of my soul. That simple awareness is the first act of inner alchemy. 2, shift your identity from small self to you to conscious creator. So ask yourself, who am I when I'm not my fears, labels, and conditioning? What if I am a point of consciousness in a unified field? What if life is happening through me and not just to me? This is not an idea you just believe, but rather it's a frequency you slowly embody. 3, connect to the field. Do this through daily practices. To dissolve the illusion of separation, you must directly feel connection. So here's some practices that might help, and they're pretty obvious. 1 is meditation. Sit in stillness and sense the space around and within you. You are connected to it. Heart-based breathing is another one. Breathe into your heart, feel that gratitude, radiate gratitude, and extend that feeling outward. Spend time in nature. Observe how the ecosystem is one interconnected intelligence. Eye contact and presence. Truly see another person without a story. Feel the shared beingness. So over time, the nervous system starts to learn it is safe to be open. It is safe to feel connected. So let's say we can create a blueprint to reconnect with who you truly are. There's just simple steps. So let's bring this full circle and lay out a clear blueprint. So step 1, like I said, is always probably awareness, right? Become aware of the illusion of separation in your thoughts, media, culture, and systems. See how often you're nudged into fear, division, and comparison. Observe, don't react. Step 2, inner inquiry. So ask yourself, where do I still feel separate from my own self? My body, my emotions, my intuition. Where do I judge others harshly? What part of me am I really judging? Interesting. This is shadow work, not to shame yourself, but to reintegrate what was split off. Step 3, try energetic alignment. Start each day by connecting to your heart and your intentions. Affirm something. Affirm, I am connected to life. I am guided. I am part of something much bigger than myself. Feel that truth, even for a few seconds. That is your 5D signal. Step 4, embody compassion. Practice seeing the same consciousness looking through different eyes. Swap judgment for curiosity. What pain or conditioning might this person be carrying? Ask yourself that. Compassion doesn't mean tolerating harm, but it means recognizing the shared field beneath the role. Step 5, community and co-creation. Find or build communities based on authenticity, safety, and unity. Spaces where people can be vulnerable, real, and growth-focused. Remember, one person can wake up alone, but entire systems shift when we awaken together. Unify. Step 6, be the signal. The most powerful way to make others aware of the illusion is not to preach, but to embody the alternative. Live as if connection is real. Act as if love is your nature. Create as if your consciousness matters, because it does. Your life becomes a living transmission. You don't have to live in separation anymore. There is another way, and it's about becoming. So in closing, let's just say separation says, I am here and life is over there. But presence says, life is happening through me right now. The illusion of separation breaks when we realize that we are not racing towards our future, but rather we are creating it from this very moment, the now, the present moment. Separation collapses in presence. Time collapses in awareness. And who you really are was never separate to begin with. So thank you guys all. I thought I'd mention all this. Separation is a powerful one. I feel a lot of selfishness out there. So thank you for taking this journey with me. We are one. And if you like this knowledge, share it with somebody who's ready to see beyond the illusion. So until next time, stay conscious, stay creative, Stay courageous and follow the rabbit. Bye now.